This is the Appliance Alliance podcast, where we are elevating the appliance industry, one podcast at a time. Hey guys, and welcome to the Appliance Alliance podcast. I am your host with the most equipment, Zach Ryder, and alongside of me, the man with a plan. He needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. Mr. TK Cousins.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome. I'm happy to be back. I don't know why I said welcome, but anyway, we have a very special guest tonight. And if you've been hanging around the Facebook Appliance Alliance group, you've seen this guy. He is a very knowledgeable tech. He's one of the people that I look up to as far as technicians go. One thing that I really like about Dave is he's always there to help. He's not one of the people that belittles others. He's not one of the people that gets on there and acts like he's a super tech, even though I think he is a super tech. But he's just a humble dude that's there to help. We're really excited to have him on the show tonight. His name is Dave Jero. If you have been in there, you've probably seen him. You may have even talked to him. I'm not going to tell you all about him. I'll let him do that. But thank you, Dave, for coming on. And why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
Well, I appreciate all the kind words there. I been doing it for 30 years, and I like to troll onto Appliance Alliance to learn more. That's the whole reason why I joined up to it with it to begin with. You never know it all. We were just talking earlier about how ran into one today I hadn't seen, and spent 13 years at GE Appliances as a factory service technician, and 15 years before that, I worked on all brands. And then you lose a lot when you work for one company for 13 years. So finding a good group of people to bounce back problems and ideas with was really one of the most important things I knew I needed to do. You know,
Talk about that single line going back to multi-line tech, because one of the things that I've said, washer's a washer's, a dryer's a dryer, a dishwasher's a dishwasher. While that's true, there is some. So walk us through that process, because I know it's not always the easiest thing to make that transition.
I think what it is when you're they all work the same. They're all put together, maybe a little bit different, but a lot of it's the design and how you go about it. Especially nowadays. I mean, back in the day, it was really pretty basic stuff. Lid switch, timers, pumps, motors, belts, pulleys, refrigerator cold controls, defrost timers. It was all the basic stuff. I mean, so much of it was even interchangeable back then. You could make stuff work. But then, working at GE for all those years, a lot changed. And especially, Whirlpool, Samsung and LG wasn't even really around. I mean, they just became big while I was at GE. And God, I remember when I quit GE and I went on my own and I first got my first few calls to Samsung, I was like, holy shit. How do I get into this thing? How do I determine, what is the sensor supposed to read? And then I was reading, you really should be checking voltage. And I was like, what? I mean, I never checked voltage at the sensor on a board before with GE. So, there are a lot of differences with appliances, more so now than ever. Appliantology was where I really first started, and that's where I learned most of it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of our favorite resources. As technicians, like that's our favorite resources for sure. So, it's funny when you think about it. Like I was just talking, I've had a rash of thermistors going bad in fridges, and like just all that you go and you look up. Think about GE thermistor chart, right? There's one GE thermistor chart because they have to use that same 25 thermistors for freaking since they put control boards in there. I mean, they don't, other than the Samsung built, they don't use anything else.
That's true. They work on the new ones too, on the new feed refrigerators. It's the same sensor.
They haven't changed anything. But then you go to Whirlpool, you go to Samsung, you go to LG. They're changing their, they have some that do the invert. They have some that follow along the right way. So you got to find the right chart for the right thermistor. Blah, so that was kind of the point that I was trying to bring home, is that, we all need a little refresher. I called you up the other day. I've been doing this for 9 years. And I ran into something that I never run into as GE. I'm like, Dave, I've never seen this. Is this going to be a problem? And you were able to reach out to a friend of yours that was still in the industry, or still in GE specifically, and answer that question. So I want to thank you for that.
Yeah, and even still, we still didn't really quite know what was that. It's like, I don't know, man. Maybe. And then by the time I got back to you, you had plugged it in and gave it the sign of the cross, and it worked.
Yeah, and that was it. It was just one of those. I'm gonna try it. It's been a while. Here we go. Let's see what happens. So, anyway, I'm going to go ahead, and since we didn't introduce him at the top of the hour, one of our other co-hosts, our rotating co-host, is along for the ride tonight, EJ Magic Mike Johnson. And I'm going to let him come up to the floor here. Go ahead, EJ.
Hey, guys. EJ's back again. Thanks for the late welcome there, Zach. I'm an afterthought, as you can see.
Better late than never.
Thank you, guys. Dave, thanks for coming on today, man. I know you've definitely helped out a lot. You helped me the other day with that refrigerator. I had an old school. We're going to try to rewire that timer, as you guys tried to help with. I had a question, because you're the first person that I've actually got to talk to that had multiple years with one company, one brand, and several years with multi-line. Which one did you prefer? You prefer having just the one line and kind of knowing what you're going through, and also do you find yourself preferring GEs now?
Yeah, you know what? I prefer GE for the refrigerator and cooking appliances. That's about it. And it's because of the support that they give, and they're not that bad compared to the rest right now. What's one thing that I learned? So for 10 years, I worked Montgomery Ward, Sears, Circuit City, and then went back to Montgomery Ward for a short stay, like 2 years, until they went bankrupt. Then I started my own business after they went bankrupt, closed their shop, started my own business, was doing service contract and warranty work. A&E factory service was A&E signature service, which was Montgomery Ward. So it was a big void, and I knew to take advantage of that. So I went ahead and took advantage of it when I started the business and did a lot of service contract work for them, and got authorized by a lot of the manufacturers, Maytag, Whirlpool, GE, Frigidaire, and things were really good, but I wanted to move. I ended up selling my business, and I told my wife at the time, I said, I won't move unless I can get a job at GE, because if I'm going to go move somewhere where I don't know, I'm not going to start a business like that, because I don't know the area, blah, blah, blah. So I said, if they're hiring at GE and I can get the job, let's sell the business. So we did that. I got the job. Believe it or not, I went to the Raleigh airport, flew into RDU, got hired in the airport parking lot, and then flew back home, sold the business in 2 weeks, and this was 2006. That's when the market took a shit in Florida, and the house I thought I was going to sell in like a week took like a year. And got working at GE, blah, blah, blah. I go fast forward everything. I'm working at GE now. And right away, I saw like so many problems. Big company, lots of waste. Nobody really cared. It was a mess. So I just kind of grew into it and fell into just the regular technician, working by the hour, working for the man. And it was great. When I got to GE, I had a pension because I worked at Montgomery Ward. I was vested immediately. I had 3 weeks paid vacation. I had killer health insurance, and the pay wasn't really that bad. But then after 13 years, I was still basically taking home the same paycheck. And I just saw the writing on the wall. They had sold the business, I lost my pension. And I was like, if I don't do something now, I'm going to be 50. If I don't do something now, I'm going to work here till I'm dead. So there's a lot of differences between working on multi-brands and then working for one brand for a company for a long time like that. You get lazy. When I quit GE and I had to work on all the brands again, I found myself having to be a technician again because I wasn't just a parts changer, just running 10, 12 calls a day, knocking out stuff that was stupid, like door handles, noisy this, adjust this, but then you had all the nonsense, not cooling monograms and dual evaporators all day long, pushing 10, 12 calls on you a day with, 2, 3 hour jobs, you're stressed out. So that's pretty much the gist of it.
And where are you located, David?
Raleigh. Youngsville's the town I live in.
I hear you talking about a lot of the business type stuff. You don't usually hear techs talking so deeply about business. You seem to have a great mind for it as well. I mean, I know you said you've been running your own business since 19 and a couple years before GE. Uh, we really like talking to business owners, and kind of wonder what I like to ask is what's the biggest struggle that you have being a business owner? Like, what's your biggest obstacle that you're working on?
For me, I don't plan on getting big. I know a lot of guys want to have multiple technicians. I don't plan on doing that at all. All my work is COD. Um, we're booked out a week, 8 calls a day, and I don't really see the desire for if I hired. I look at it like if I had to hire one technician, I got to pay for my workman's comp, the insurance, the van. I got to hope that he's going to be able to pull off 6, 7 completes a day. And how much money at the end of the day am I really going to make off that technician with the headache that it's going to create? So really, you would almost have to have maybe 2 or 3 technicians to start making money. And I just don't see that. And I don't consider myself basically a businessman, more of just a lone wolf out there running service calls.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. There's a lot of guys that we've talked to that perfectly content being one man shows and owning your job and calling the shots, not having anybody else to worry about. There's nothing wrong with that. I respect that. And you're not just a chuck in the truck.
And that's what we like about our industry.
Living the dream.
For sure. That's what we love about this industry is that there's such a broad spectrum. We know guys that have 30 technicians, we know guys that have 10 technicians, we know guys that are single technicians and everything in between. We know guys that they're technician. I don't want to say it like that. It sounds bad when you say it like that, but they're technicians for a company and they're perfectly happy with where they're at. That's the great thing about this industry is that there is something for literally everyone.
It's a big business.
If you want to work for a company, if you want to be secure, you can go and work for the majors. You can go and work for small guys. You can go and work for medium shops. You can open your own business and have a bunch of technicians. You can have no technician. It's great. It's great that you can be all over the place.
Let me say this. There's one thing that's really, my wife and I have been talking about this a lot because there's one thing that I noticed that's really needed in this industry more now than ever, and that's some sort of universal support. Like you should be able to, as a group with all the manufacturers, be able to pay maybe, even if I had to pay $500 a year for all of them in a group. I don't want to have to buy a subscription to Whirlpool and Samsung and LG and Frigidaire, the whole base of it. They really should be unified for small, because in reality, it's really becoming harder for businesses to expand. And so it's easier if you're a smaller business to be able to give more back to their businesses. Quality service.
And not just that, there's a lot of us that want to do the right thing, but manufacturers have not been playing ball. And I would say for sure, at least as long as I've been in the industry, 9 years, they really have not been playing ball with us. And we're out here. We want to recommend them. We want to service our communities well. We're all going through things now where you can't get manufacturer service. You cannot get a manufacturer authorized company or someone actually that works as a single line tech.
They're not supporting the product.
They're not supporting the product at all. And it's really disheartening to see, because then you see this whole non-brand loyalty, right? There's customers that are just like, whatever's cheap at the store. And we see a lot of waste and a lot of stuff ending up where it shouldn't.
Yeah, they go to the crusher.
How did you get into appliance repair, Dave? Did you just wake up one morning and say, I'm gonna be an appliance technician?
Not at all. I don't think most of us do. I went to school for electronic engineering right out of high school. And when I graduated in tech school, it was 1990, 91. And I couldn't really get a job that was worth anything, paid well. It was just crappy part-time soldering boards kind of jobs. And I was like, we need you to move to Texas, work third shift for $7 an hour. And I'm like, no way. So I had a buddy working at Sears fixing lawn tractors, and that's what started it. He said, why don't you go and apply for Sears fixing appliances? So I took some aptitude test, and they hired me as like an apprentice. I worked with technicians for about 6 months, and they taught me air conditioning, refrigerators, and water treatment, water softeners, pumps, iron filters, chlorinators, and stuff like that. So it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. And I worked around some really, really good guys back then that taught me a lot of stuff that I use today.
Yeah, you're fortunate to have gotten 6 months of training at Sears, because mostly what I hear is that they just hire you and then throw you in a van. I don't know how true that is, but the fact that they gave,
It's a bad way to do it.
yeah. So I feel like that's pretty cool of them to have given you the 6 months to learn, because that's a good training time to have 6 months right along learning the trade. And that's what I'm a big proponent of is training your technicians and putting the time in to make them a technician before you say, hey, here's a van and a tool bag, go fix some stuff.
There's a lot of things that you really got to teach a guy. Do it right the first time. Take your time. Don't rush. Anytime you make a shortcut, it's going to take you longer in the end. Those are probably my biggest things. I've been training my son, and that's like I tell him every day. Like we're double when I'm talking, like this morning we were doing that pump, and I'm like, every hose that we connect, we double check, we triple check. Every wire connection, we double triple check. Once we're done, we run it through a cycle, like you were saying earlier, DK. Like a good technician, I'm not there for one thing, but I'm there for the whole thing. I want to make sure from the start to the end, everything's right. Because recalls suck,
Yeah, that's huge. Yep. Gotta triple check your work and make sure it's done right, or else you're gonna get those callbacks, which just costs everybody money.
Yeah, I love hearing that you been training your son. How old is your son?
He just turned 18.
Awesome. I was training my 13, 14-year-old son this summer. I actually had to fire him
It's awesome.
a couple of weeks ago, but we'll try him again next year. It's so cool
He's
seeing
got
him
other
learn.
stuff he's got to be taken care of right now.
Yeah.
So one of our favorite questions to ask when we actually have technicians on the show, what are if you could not take anything else in, your must-have top 3 tools that you take into a house? What's your go-tos, your top 3? You would be lost without them.
My meter, my drill with bits, because I'm old and lazy, and I'm using no hand tools as much as possible. And what else would I guess I would need? I guess just I don't have any specialty things. Like some people say, like, I got to have this little special screwdriver or this or that. Or I don't necessarily have that because I carry a bunch of different tools. So I guess just my bit set, my drill, and my meter. Flathead screwdriver, there's a special one. I guess I would say that I buy it like Lowe's or Home Depot. It's just a cheap flathead screwdriver, red handle, and it's the flat, like 3/16 spade on the end of it. It's not wedged out like this. It's more flat and it's narrow. It works perfect on light switch outlets. That's like the perfect size of it. The best part of that size screwdriver is that it works really good on popping the spades, the terminals off the spades. It fits in there perfect. So that's like my got to have flathead screwdriver.
You rock a impact, or you rock a like gyroscopic screwdriver like TK does? What do you run?
I was using a impact driver for a long time, but I found it's just they're kind of a little. The last one I bought, I didn't like. It was too aggressive. So I bought the Milwaukee. It's like a 2-speed, 12-volt screwdriver, but with the 1/4-inch end on it. I really like that thing. The trigger is real nice and smooth, real articulate. So it doesn't sound like you're stripping out every screw when you're zipping apart something or putting it back together. Because, the customers are like, what in the hell? Zip, 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 zip.
Milwaukee definitely makes some good tools. And your meter. So what kind of meter are you rocking?
Just the Field Piece 260. It doesn't have the LOZ, but I've kind of been using without it for this many years, I figure. I'll just keep running with it until one day I'll be like, damn it, I'm going to have to break down and buy one.
Do you have a K-probe on there? You do temperature, oven calibration?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Those are important. Meters are definitely important as a technician.
It's our most important tool.
Yeah, really anybody that we ask that question, their number one answer should be meter. Because if your go-to isn't your meter, I don't. How do you troubleshoot without a meter? That's my question. Like, if you're not checking amperage, voltage, and resistance, I mean, I couldn't imagine not having a meter. So that I use the Klein CL800. It does have the low Z function, which is awesome. But I've actually been thinking about getting a new meter here lately, just because I want to have a better. I don't like the temperature setting on the CL800. What's the one you have, Zach, that you can do dual temps at the same time?
I have a Field Piece that is, I believe it's been discontinued. I think they've come out with a new similar variant, but it only has single now, which is kind of disappointing. I had the SC 660 or something like that. It's like a couple $100 meter at a HVAC supply house. Super nice though, because you got the ring clamp, you got the low Z, you got DC, you got AC, you got, you name it, you got it. I had dual K probe. So it looks a lot like the one that David carries, but it's it just has a couple extra things. And I found for my flow, like it works well. That's probably my go-to meter. I have the Fluke as a backup when I need to get a little more precise, like, because I feel there's certain voltage measurements, like DC especially, and low Z. It's not. I don't think it's as good for that, and so I'll pull out the Klein if I'm really concerned. But yeah, I like Field Piece. They do actually make a pretty good meter. So
They've been doing it a long time, like Fluke.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm the Fluke boy in the room. I do the Fluke 323. Nothing special. It's got the clamp. I got the K-type probe that goes on it. It does auto sensing AC/DC. That's basically what I do. I'm not as much tech as you guys with this industry, but this here is my favorite tool. It's a Klein infrared. It also has non-contact voltage. I like taking that. It wouldn't be my top 3, but it's probably number 4.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. I can't see you, but I It's that pen non-contact voltage. Yep, I have one of those. I keep it in my tool bag.
Also does temperature. They turned me on to that one for those quick moments when you got a customer that's like, oh, hey, here, let me open this fridge for you. And they're ready to open it for like 15 minutes for you. And you can at least shoot a little time. It's not 100% accurate, but
Gives you a basic idea. I like the non-contact voltage for diagnosing heating elements on dishwasher. I'll throw my amp probe on the wire, and then when I'm going through the test, I don't even count it or look at the chart. I just keep clicking away until I get that non-contact thing going, buzzing. And then if I don't see any current, I probably have a bad heater. Or it makes it easy. Same with the motor, like you were talking earlier, TK. That Whirlpool. I'll stick my arm in or under there and just get it on the wire that's running the motor and test it that way. I know it's not accurate, but it kind of gives me a real quick idea what's going on with it.
well, that's anything we do. We need to be able to move quickly to the next piece of the diagnosis, right? You could have a bad fuse on that same heater line, but at least it points you in a direction, to look further down the line that the board is sending voltage or whatever. So that's cool. I'm a meter nerd. I've had the 323 EJ, and then my backup flat meters, the 115. I have that kit, the 115 or 116. I forget what it is. I did not like the head, the clamp head. I feel like the field piece for me, it's a little narrower of a head, and you can really get it in. So, some of these bundles are so stinking tight that it's hard to get a ring clamp around them. So
yeah,
that's cool. So as we're getting towards the end of this, and you kind of hit on it, but I want to highlight it because it is one of our favorite questions to ask. It doesn't matter like who it's addressed to, whether it's a newbie, it's a longtime person. What is the number one piece of advice that you would give someone in this industry?
Who's getting into the industry, starting out?
You can break it down to someone who's starting out, to someone who's been in a long time, however you want to break it down. But giving back to the community, what's your number one takeaway for someone in this industry?
You never know it all. You need to listen and learn every day. Like I said, after all these years of me doing this, I get stumped every day. You just do. Don't think you're better than that. It's probably my best advice is just don't get your head get all full of shit. Make it be real. Say, you know what, I was wrong. Take your time, and those days will get better when you're just starting out. I think that's probably about the best advice I could give on that one.
Man, what a perfect answer.
Great advice.
I'll tell you, that's a perfect answer that shows why the introduction was worthy for you. What a great guy, humble, 30 years plus in the game, and still wanting to learn and help others. Man, it's people like you that make the Appliance Alliance what it is, and I personally just want to thank you for who you are and what you do for everybody in the group, quietly and humbly.
It's a pleasure being with you guys.
TK, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Dave for coming on. I'd like to do a shameless plug for the tech support group. Dave is a member. He's always chiming in there. If you're a new tech or seasoned tech, wherever you fall into the spectrum, we love having people join that. We have LG guys in there. We have Samsung, GE guys in there. And it's really just another venue of the Appliance Alliance. And if you haven't joined yet, we encourage you to. I think it's what, $10, $5 or $10 a month. $5 a month. You ain't getting tech support anywhere else for $5 a month, but with the Appliance Alliance. And you got smart guys like Dave in there, and a bunch of other good techs, and you got a lot of young guys that are not scared to ask the questions, and you know, I ask stupid questions in there too, and they help me out. I'm one of the number one question askers in the tech support because I don't know everything. But thank you, Dave, for coming on. We really appreciate you. I personally really enjoyed uh, just getting to know you a little better. I know we've hopped on a few happy hour hangouts together and stuff like that. But thanks for coming on. Let me ask you one more question before we jump off. How did you find the Appliance Alliance Facebook group?
I guess I was just looking for appliance stuff on groups, and I don't think it was Appliance Alliance then. It was like,
Appliance Apprentice.
yep. I'm like, yeah, I'll join that. You know, I saw a lot of members, and I was like, let's see what kind of noise is going on inside of there. Is really what I was looking for.
What would you say is your favorite Appliance Facebook group that you're a member of?
Appliance Alliance, of course. I don't really necessarily have one, to be honest with you.
But thank you, man. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate you.
Yeah, and we appreciate that shameless love of us. We started out as Appliance Apprentice Group, and as the podcast went on and TK and I really dug into it and we got some feedback from the group, we realized, you know what, there's a lot of guys who are like, well, I'm not an apprentice, I don't even be in this group. And it didn't matter how many times we said, like, everyone has something. I mean, you guys heard David here, right? Like, one of the most humble guys in the group I know, and also one of the most experienced guys in the group I know. This guy has 30 years of experience. If anyone in the group has right to say, like, hey, I know what I'm doing, it's Dave. And he's like, I got stuff to learn. You know what I mean? Like, so that kind of mentality, that willingness to learn all the time, is really the mission of the Appliance Alliance. We want people to know that no matter where you are on your journey, there's something to learn. There's something to give back. You have value. You are important in what you say. David, we appreciate the heck out of you. You're so active in that Patreon support group. You're so active in Appliance Alliance group, whether it's asking questions or giving feedback. Like, you are on both sides of that. You give and take, and it's fantastic to see. And you're a model of what technicians should aspire to within the group and within the industry. Just that willingness to be humble, that willingness to ask questions. But then the ability to say, you know what, I know what the heck I'm doing, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to share, and I'm going to help other people learn how to do that too. That's really the thing that makes this industry so much better. So I want to thank you for coming on the show tonight. And it's been fun to get to know you over the last 8-9 months or so. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, same here for you guys, man. You're a good group of people, so that's why I'm still here. If you're all a bunch of jerks, I'd be like, I'm out, man. These guys are assholes.
You should see what happens when the cameras turn off.
Oh, I can only imagine.
You should see what happens at the meetups.
Yeah, we can't wait to. Yeah, we can't wait to have you at Appliance Alliance meetup. So speaking of which, I'm going to take care of some business at the end of this. Appliance Alliance Facebook group, we are in there. The most important thing rolling down the pipe, and it's going to get bigger and better as we go along. TheApplianceAlliance.com. It is in the description down below. If you're not part of a mastermind, make sure you sign up for that. Get on that wait list to be a part of a mastermind, especially if you're a business owner. So worthwhile. Like, comment, subscribe, share this podcast. The more you like it on the podcast channels, the more you like it on Facebook, the more that this gets out, the better that we can make the appliance industry. And that's really the mission. Elevating the appliance industry one podcast at a time. And for tonight, that is the Appliance Alliance podcast. Signing off.